Welcome, everyone, to the Flourishing Workplace podcast. My name is Connie, and this is our live podcast. We invite a live Zoom studio audience here with us to capture just an amazing guest. And today, our guest is truly amazing. We have Julie Kerr, the Executive Director of Hull Services. If you've been around me for 5 minutes, you know that my personal why I do what I do in the workplace is because of youth. I think that our youth will do better when we, the adults, lead the way in doing better. And Julie is creating that at Hull. Welcome, Julie.
Hi, thanks, Connie.
So glad that you're with us. This is going to be such an enriching conversation because we were chatting a little bit before online, just some of the things that I was just dying to ask you. I mean, how often do you get to talk to an executive director of a very large organization dealing with some very complex issues? And the culture that you've created there is substantial. And in this large staff of employees, they're working on the front line. These youth, they come from such hard places. I would love to know how you take care of your employees so well.
Sure. So I'll just start by giving you some context. We're over 700 employees at Hull Services and over 500 volunteers. So it's lots of people. And 85% of all of the funding that we receive at Hull Services goes directly to paying for people, right? And so the very heart of what we do, everything that we do is done through people. And so our people are our greatest asset and our greatest resource. The work we do here can be really challenging. It's working with children and youth and families that have trauma histories and are struggling with a variety of mental health and behavioral kinds of concerns, addictions, those kinds of things. And the work can sometimes be dangerous. And something we've been noticing over the last few years is just a rising acuity overall that's resulting in like increased violence from some of the young people that we serve. Risks like that. And so it's really important for us to pay attention to our people first and make sure that they are equipped and supported to do this work in a way that is safe and healthy. We know that people who go into the helping professions are already disproportionately heavy in experience of trauma in their own histories, up to fourfold. People who go into helping professions tend to have had related history in their own backgrounds. And so we know that even the work that they do here can trigger memories from people's own past trauma and can impact their mental health if we don't attend to that properly, right? So, we've all heard the expression, hurt people hurt people. That's true. But in our world, and what I see as being a big portion of my responsibility here at Hull Services is to ensure that that we're caring for people who care for people, right? And so that's the preventive measure that we're taking to remedy the risk associated with hurt people hurting people. So here at Hull, we put a really strong focus on enabling a safe and healthy workplace culture. That is one of the 4 pillars within our strategic plan that we're working to right now. And in support of this goal, we've done a variety of things. And so I'm just kind of going to give you a little bit of a laundry list, I think, of the strategies that we have in place or the things that we're doing. And then we can contextualize that later, Connie, and talk about how that fits into the bigger picture of our organizational story. But we have a workplace health and safety committee in each work site that has representation across those teams to support staff and respond to critical events and near misses through investigations and following up to recommendations. We have for the organization what we call an Enabling Healthy Workplace Culture Committee that has representation from various levels and various places in the organization to specifically set targets and evaluate progress toward that strategic aim. We also have an Inclusion and Diversity Committee and an Indigenous Strategy Advisory that is supporting the indigenization of our organization. And we have a Hull's Voices of Lived Experience Community Advisory made up of people who have received services from Hull, either as young people themselves or as family members and loved ones of young people who've been served at Hull. And that helps keep our staff and our leadership attuned to the needs of our population and a feeling that we can work collectively with those that we serve to achieve better outcomes at the end of the day. We provide excellent, and Hull is known for this, so anyone in the service agency world knows that Hull is well known for providing excellent orientation, training, and ongoing reflective practice and supervision support to our staff. Again, we review all critical incidents with a learning and an improvement lens. We have a leadership development program in place with formal training, a career path development plan, regular supervision and review, including 360-degree feedback opportunities for all of our staff in the organization. We offer scholarships for staff looking to support ongoing education, including a scholarship specifically designed for our Indigenous staff called the Participative Indigenous Leadership Scholarship. We have a formal employee recognition program with nominated awards as well as milestone programs to recognize years of service and commitment. And there's a committee that oversees this and continuously improves the ways that we recognize our folks. We have a social committee where we invest in resources to support social activities amongst the staff, both within teams and across the organization, because we know relationships are absolutely paramount to people's well-being in the workplace. We offer flexible health benefits to support staff who are needing support, either with physical health issues or with mental health issues or family issues, those kinds of things. And we seek to be really competitive in paying a living wage so that folks don't have to stretch themselves too thin by having to hold several jobs instead of having the opportunity to experience a little more work-life balance and family support focus. We strongly encourage people to use their vacation and their personal leave days to take care of themselves. We offer mentoring and coaching to support staff development. We think communication is really, really important. And so we've developed a few platforms for that. We have what we call our Hello monthly newsletter to staff that just keeps them attuned to what's going on in the organization. And we have regular town hall meetings to communicate with staff about what's happening and to address current issues. And so in the last couple of years, we've had a number of issues that have had to be addressed. In addition to COVID-19, there have been sort of the whole Black Lives Matter emphasis. There's been the whole situation with the unmarked graves at residential schools that we've, used these platforms to address, the murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls, sexual diversity issues, all of those kinds of things that impact people's sense of health and well-being as current events crowd into their workspaces and into their personal lives. We regularly survey our staff about their safety, their wellness, their satisfaction and engagement at work, and we seek to respond to their feedback in meaningful ways and report back to them about what we've done so that their feedback doesn't just go into a vacuum. And we make every effort to support work-life balance and accommodate individual needs as much as we possibly can while still meeting our program requirements. So we work hard to find places within other programs when people need a better fit to their work environment, when funding impacts programs and people's positions have to be deleted. We work really hard to find places within the organization and keep them in the organization in that way. And so we really try to attend as well as we can to the rounded needs that people bring with them into the workplace. So that's kind of the laundry list, and there's more, but it's just those are the things that you can kind of do. If you wonder, where do we start? Well, you start somewhere and you do something, and you keep doing other things as people let you know what needs to happen for them, right?
Yes. You start somewhere and you do something. I really love that, Julie, because as I'm listening to your list, I'm like, this is so intentional and thorough and strategic. And I absolutely adore just how much effort and just that the bottom hands that you've put underneath these beautiful employees. And when you mentioned that a lot of the staff that you have are people who've come out of trauma, who want to give back, I found that very intriguing, and how intentional you've been to support them this way. And in maybe perhaps a regular workplace, we often just don't know the traumas that people have had. And sometimes behavior can show a little bit of what maybe where those traumas have been. And it looks like behavior, but it's actually, maybe it's trauma, maybe it's past experiences that have negatively shaped their life. And so what you've just mentioned here is, is anybody else blown away right now? Like, is anyone else thinking, wow, like just start with one of those things? And I also really appreciated how you said that each member of those committees are attuned to employees. They're not just fulfilling a role. They're on the ground and they're listening and they're hearing what people are saying and what they need. And I think that is phenomenal, Julie.
Yeah, they're attuned and they're represented, right? Like we ensure that those committees have representation, not just of leadership, because it can't be, this stuff cannot just be led from the top or leadership led. It has to be helping people figure out what their role is as a leader wherever they sit within the organization and how they can contribute from wherever they are in the organization by participating in these really strategic kinds of initiatives, right? Being spokespeople on behalf of where they sit in the organization.
Yes. And for anyone listening, any manager or HR business owner, nonprofit leader, you know, that question of contribution comes up a lot in our work here at Flourishing Workplace. People want to know that they're making a difference, and maybe their role isn't always super fulfilling, but I love what you've done. You've created capacity for people to contribute in ways that mean something to them. And so that's so possible. I love this, Julie. What do you believe has been the most successful method for you building this great work culture, especially in a large organization?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing we've done is to make a clear and concerted effort to prioritize what we call participative strategic planning. So that's another one of our 4 pillars within our strategic plan. It's our first strategic direction. This is the document that guides everything we do right now. If you want to go onto the Hull's website, you can find it and read it. But this isn't just something that sits on a shelf. This is something that every new employee receives at orientation. It's something that we bring up often in our town halls. When we make announcements about things, we talk about how it fits with our strategic initiatives and our strategic goals, because we want people to have that clear line of sight that we're not just doing things willy-nilly. We're actually doing things embedded in a really strategic approach that has involved the participation of everyone throughout the organization and even our partners and those who receive our services, right? We want everybody to have a say in who we are as an organization and what we do. Within this strategic directions document, we've actually made some key commitments that we call our strategic approach. And the 3 key commitments within our strategic approach is about building respectful relationships. It's that bottom line about equity and mutual respect and valuing of individuals within an organizational culture. It's about holding space for authentic dialogue and making room for the challenging conversations that you want to have happen. Conflict is really healthy in an organization because it iron sharpens iron, and it encourages us to be better when we bump up against each other in respectful ways. And so it's about how do we hold and make space for that kind of authentic conversation that addresses the elephants that would otherwise sit in the room and get in the way, right? And then the 3rd key commitment is about working effectively together. And that's a commitment to sharing resources, to cross-pollinating amongst our programs, learning the best of what we do from each other. It's about seeking help to solve problems within a program, using your partners in other programs across the organization to learn from what they've done. So by keeping this kind of an approach, strategic approach at the forefront, we've developed a shared language and a frame for how we work, what kind of organization we want to create, the way we want to be with one another, and the difference we want to make in the world around us. So we can focus in really tightly on specific issues and concerns, but this frame also gives us the capacity to zoom out and get a really big picture kind of approach to our thinking, where we open the doors to thinking about doing things differently and not just focusing on what we've always done or how we've always done it. So that's been really cool. And all of it then can be aligned through this transparent strategic lens that says, how does this fit? So something comes forward as a suggestion or a question or an opportunity. How does this fit through our strategic lens, right? The other really important piece that's included in this document is our organizational vision, our mission, and then our values. And so we can constantly be asking ourselves the question, how does this fit with our long-term vision? And so for Hull, that vision is about resilient young people and families thriving within communities that support their mental health and well-being. The mission is that we partner with young people and families building resilience today for a brighter tomorrow. And then the values that we share are about purpose, inclusion, connection, knowledge, and space. And those all have meaning and shared language within our organization. And we can always be asking ourselves the question, how does this relate to our values? Does this live in consistency with our values? Or if we were to take this approach or do this thing, would it actually be against our values or not supporting our mission? And when you have that kind of shared language, it helps people to understand what they do and how it fits within a larger frame. Having said that, I'm not a proponent of creating work cultures. You hear this expression, like-minded people, and that's not something that I'm seeking to do here at Hull or that we're trying to do, because I think when you do that, what you end up doing is limiting your view or missing out on opportunities that diverse perspectives bring. And so the other thing we're doing is we're actively seeking out diversity in our organization. We want people of multiple generations and ages working together in teams, both at senior leadership and frontline levels. We think there's real value in that, just like there is in having gender diversity, ethnic diversity, cultural diversity, religious diversity, diversity of experience and personality styles and ways of processing information. There's a big line of thinking now around neurodiversity in the workplace and what it brings to the table. And so this is what really sharpens and refines and improves the organization and the people within it, is when we're not all, in a group mindset, but we're able to continually challenge one another and challenge the status quo and make things better.
I deeply appreciate how you've talked about language being a common place where all this diversity can come together, come to the table, but here's our common language, here's our values, and whoever you are, doesn't matter. This is how we talk here. This is how we do this, but you get to be you. That's beautiful. And can I just say that that's not easy to do? I'm curious because the next question I had is around belonging. What have there been any challenges that you've had to overcome in this area? Because I think a lot of people, we all want it, but the how is where it gets messy, doesn't it?
It can. And I guess for me, it's going beyond you get to be you. And it's more about coming to a place where we need you to be you, right? We need what you bring to this organization. And we don't want you to be less of who you are because of our organization. What we need you is to bring yourself with a whole heart and all of yourself, bring it to work, all of the range of your experiences, your emotions. Some people say, emotions don't belong at work. And I just don't believe that that's helpful. I think we need people to bring their whole selves to work every day. And that is messy and it is complicated. But if we ask people to leave parts of themselves at home, we will never have the wholeheartedness that we need for people to bring to this work. And so in order to reap the benefit of that wholeheartedness, you have to take the risk of the messiness of asking people to just bring their entire selves to work. And relationship, we know, we do an awful lot of work in the area of trauma and healing and resilience here. And we know that the very best thing you can do to support somebody's resilience in the face of challenge and difficulty, it's all about relationships. And in order to have those kinds of genuine connections with people, you have to be able to be known, to be seen, to be accepted, and to be loved and appreciated with all of your uniqueness, right? So there are challenges, and some of the strategies I talked about at the very beginning have been strategies designed to address some of those challenges. And so, some of the the ways people can bump up against each other and hurt each other without even knowing it through, what's called now microaggressions, and those is really about developing a deep understanding of inclusion and diversity and what that means. So some of the things we're talking about as being the challenges we have to address are representation, for example. If we have everybody in senior leadership looking alike, and before I came to the organization, I think that it was a little bit like that. It was, we now are actively seeking the diversity I talked about around age and ethnicity and gender and all of those things. We're really trying to open the doors to representation everywhere throughout the organization. Just like the people we serve need to see representations of themselves and their own experiences amongst our staff need to see representations of themselves amongst our leadership. And our leadership needs to see representations of themselves in their senior leadership. And we need to see that in our board. And all of that will flow through this notion that representation matters, and that the more we represent the diversity around us, the better of an organization will be at handling the challenges related to diversity, because it will just be the norm. It won't be something that's novel or new. We've also made really concerted efforts to create inclusive and equitable work environments, and to open the conversation to say to people, just because you're not a leader by title in our organization doesn't mean we don't need your leadership. And so really calling people to contribute from wherever they are in the organization. When you see something that doesn't feel right or it doesn't make sense, please, bring it to someone's attention. And if that person doesn't really listen, bring it to somebody else's attention. And we've tried to create avenues and pathways for people to be heard and to have their voices respected, and to see response to things when they have concerns or questions about why things are being done a certain way. We've made a really strong focus on communication in our organization, both at the interpersonal, individual level, open door policies from leadership, but also with these vehicles and mechanisms for people to approach committees that have been given specific areas of responsibility. And then visible leadership is really important. I don't think it's enough for leaders to say, here's what we are, here's who we are and what we do. We actually have to go out then and show people by being visible in the way that we lead, that we also believe this and do this, and here's how it can be done, right? And so it's really important. When COVID hit and some of our in-person avenues weren't available to us anymore, we moved very rapidly to Zoom town halls, virtual town halls, where people could still see me, they could still see the senior operations team, they could still see people who were leading safety in the organization or human resource issues in the organization, because leadership has to be seen. People have to see you in action and understand how you'll respond if something goes wrong, or if they need support in some way. And then the other thing has just been about this leadership development and having a clear path for people to develop in their careers. So that has to include the training and the mentoring and the support for education leaves and stretch opportunities, and people receiving direct and immediate feedback that's focused on improvement. And if that's the culture that you live and breathe, then people can start to see themselves as leaders and potential growing leaders in an organization where they can make a difference. So.
Anyone else blown away right now by the wisdom of Julie Kerr? So many gold nuggets that you've said. I can't even repeat, because I'd have to repeat them all. This is so phenomenal. I really love how you talk about we need you. And you talked about everyone is a leader here, and creating that ownership, which probably naturally outflows from you creating an environment where people feel seen, heard, and valued, which I actually feel, that's, if you ever want to simplify anything, if someone feels seen, heard, and valued, they will perform. They will rise to the occasion. And at least that's what I have found. And that's what we've noticed in our flourishing workplace work, that acknowledgement is huge. And you model this. And that was the other thing that really stood out to me, Julie, is just how you are this person. You are not trying to create this, and that if we want our employees to welcome diversity and create spaces of belonging and innovation and productivity, well, it all starts right here with me taking leadership over myself. That's it right there. And you do that so well.
Well, and it's also this, it's risking, right? It's risk. It's, I think one of the best things we can do as leaders is be vulnerable and take the risk to let people see us and know us. Sometimes that means you become more emotional than you expected to in a meeting or in a public venue, but I think when people start to make those connections to you as a leader, as a human being, and you're okay to bring your vulnerabilities into the workplace, it helps other people to connect with you on a different level. And I think something that's been said to me over and over again here and in other previous areas of leadership is that when you oversee large staff and you don't really have as direct a connection as you'd like, it's interesting when people say to you, well, our people feel like they really know you. And I think being known is that answer to people being willing to be known, right? And so I think if it's safe for leadership to be vulnerable and to be known and to be transparent and to bring their whole selves to their work, that frees other people to do the same. And people respond to that and connect to that, and then they connect to the organization at a heart level, not just at a head level. And I think that's where you get your best performance from folks.
Yes, the heart level. That is truly, truly powerful. Julie, you've just been such a blessing to us. That's the only word I can think of. And so I want to just let everyone know that this podcast is actually going to be going live next week. We're going to be putting on our Spotify, our Apple, our YouTube. And Julie, honestly, from the bottom of all of our hearts here at Wellness Innovate, thank you for being here and your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Anytime, Connie.
Oh, you're amazing. Well, and what Julie has been saying is honestly, that's what we're about. It's this idea of changing the world. And again, the reason why I believe personally so strongly in this is after working with youth at risk for so many years and seeing young people in cycles and patterns and realizing that, what I saw in the urban ghetto was also the exact things that I was seeing in affluent public schools and in middle class schools, that it was everywhere. And when I started diving into how are we going to impact mental health in our world, instantly I went to parents. If we can help parents, then we can change the game. And I am personally, I've had a personal journey with that. My son was suicidal and depressed, anxious, and I had to go through my own personal journey as a parent. And when I changed, his world changed. And I realized that if we can help the parents, that our youth are going to be okay. But where are the parents? The parents are at work. So if we can impact work, then we can really actually change the world. And so here at Flourishing Workplace, we focus on three things. Notice that people is first. I love that Julie just talked endlessly about how they're putting people first and the strategies that they've put in place to put people first. Because it's one thing to say people first, and it's another thing to actually go through the implementation of the systems, the strategies, and the intentionality around that, and to create purpose, that meaning. Every person that walks through our doors and your doors today, whether it be in our homes, our workplaces, and our communities, they want to know, do I matter? Is there meaning to my life? And if work can create a place where there's purpose ignited in people, they will come alive. And naturally, the natural outflow of that will be profit. We're finding, at least in our work, that with COVID, this team culture has been a little challenging. And so what we have at Wellness Innovate is a simple process. We want to simplify and create and identify these challenges. And we want to provide evidence-based solutions. Now, what does that mean? It just means that these are scientifically proven. They're not just ideas from the top of my head or somebody else's head, just to create healthy teams and a bottom line. The problem is that we actually spend too much time at work. We can't afford for workplaces to be toxic, but honestly, they're no fun. And the truth is that we have a model, we have a solution, we have a flourishing workplace framework that can help, because we believe in a workplace. We believe that workplaces is a place where everyone can thrive. Everyone can belong. Like Julie reminds us that this is possible. You can have a diverse group of people come together and know they belong and contribute. It's possible. And so here we don't just care about your business. We care about you. We care about the success of what your mission is, reminding yourself, why did you get into this nonprofit work? Why did you get into this business? What solution burned inside your heart? What did you want to do and make a difference in? That's what we care about. We want that to come to life. And so what I would love to do is invite you to some next steps, to book a discovery session with us to discover what this could look like. Like I said, we have a framework. It's an online course created by Abe Brown and Dr. Wayne Hammond. I have a small part to play in there. And it's a beautiful experience that creates a framework for your team to be able to thrive. It has a detailed roadmap. And what we do is we walk with you to put that into practice. So here's how you can get a hold of us. This is our website. This is our email. And I would really encourage you as a next step, if you were moved in your heart in any way, if you were thinking at any moment in this podcast, this is something that my workplace needs, then book this call. And actually, I don't want you to delay on it, because the thing with delay is that your tasks will take over, your life will take over. It really is time to create a better world, and it's so possible. And so I just want to thank Julie again for your time, and for everyone who joined us on the live podcast. We believe in you. We appreciate you being here. And for our audience listening right now on the podcast, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.